the beach house again on a Friday. Been very lucky with the weather. Yesterday was quite damp, and when I went out on Wednesday to have a pizza, it was actually dry as well. But prior to that, a wet day. So it's been alternating, and we just asked it into the right part of the cycle by the looks of things, because it's a half-hour walk there, and it's a lot nicer when there ain't any drizzle or heavy rain for that matter. So that's good. So I got another delivery yesterday, another item I bought on eBay, and got delivered to my door, although it was only luck because Australia Post is supposed to send you sort of a message, you know, sort of a few hours before they arrive. I got nothing yesterday. He just fronted up, just happened to be home, so that was all right. The previous time they said there was a delivery from Liquorland. I hadn't made a purchase at Liquorland, and it was clothing. It's my actually the shorts I'm wearing now. I've got a couple of pairs of those because I hadn't bought any clothes for ages. Being a typical guy, it's a really low priority, and I've got to get polo tops, and the seller that used to be on eBay ain't there at the moment, so that's a problem. I'll have to find somewhere else to buy it from. I couldn't locate one the other day when I looked, so I prefer to buy stuff online, to be honest with you, but you know, if I'm in a store I'll browse, I guess, but I'm not a big browser, but guys generally aren't. Anyway, get a bit of exercise, get out and have this walk today before we have a few drinks. At least I don't have any gin in the house, so I can't drink after I get back, and that's a good thing. Well, it's Sunday and I'm off to the bottle shop. Just pick up some grog because I'm going to need it. I'm going to be watching Richmond play at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There's a live broadcast of the match, and yes, they haven't been impressing too much. They haven't lost by huge margins, but they've only won one game and drawn one game and lost the rest. So I think it's about 4 matches they've lost. So they're not travelling too well. They're playing the Suns today down in Melbourne, and I haven't seen Gold Coast Suns really, so I suppose that'll be of some interest. But yeah, I didn't have any grog yesterday, so I sort of given myself I've had my alcohol-free day on Saturday, and now I can indulge myself. Last time I walked up here, you may recall, I had a cascade of dog barking, absolute cacophony of it. And what the weird thing is when I returned to back down home, the same road, not a sound, not one dog. And it may be because it only takes one dog to set off all the rest, so if that dog doesn't happen to be present, then it's not so bad. The one over here generally barks a lot. You get to know which houses have the noisiest dogs, of course, if you walk the streets. I could do with the exercise because I really had well, I did have a good Friday. We go every Friday, walk to the beach house. It's a half-hour walk, so that's each way, so it's an hour's walking, so it's not bad. It's a beautiful day today. No breeze to speak of. High 20s. Not particularly humid that I can feel, but other people, if you come from Melbourne, you might think it is, but I don't detect it. We've had such a hot summer that you know, I don't think I'm not nothing to complain about. And as I say, if I had gone to Vietnam, I'd be encountering 40-degree heat over there. They've had a heat wave in April, so maybe it wasn't such a bad thing to dodge it, because we're coming into the best time of the year weather-wise. Ideally, getting out of Cairns any time in December through till probably April now, because it didn't cool down until mid-April. Normally it'd be mid-March. So that's the period that you want to avoid. Easier said than done. And the thing is, if you go to somewhere like Southeast Asia, you've got to be very careful where you pick, because you could go to Chiang Mai in December, which is, you know, the peak time, and it's very pleasant weather, very mild. But the trouble is, the burning season follows a month or so after that. So you don't want to cop that, because it was so bad this year, all the farms burning off foliage, that it was designated the most polluted city in the world, Chiang Mai. So it's normally a very nice place, good place to chill out. But yeah, this year, about the last, might have been March, mid-April, it's been horrible. Just totally thick, smoky air, and the visibility way down. So yeah, not very pleasant at all, and particularly a big health hazard too, because doctors have said a lot of people have been admitted to hospital because of it. So here's paradise, you know. There's no air pollution. It's fairly low density, so it's the burbs, and it's near a beach. And this time of year the weather's superb. Right through, normally till about late November, early or even late December. This year we had hot weather in October, which is a portend of a pretty bad summer, as it turned out. Looks like we're going to have to wait a while before we see the Starship have another trial. It did a lot of damage to the Starbase in Boca Chica, Texas, where it flies from. And because they didn't put metal down on the launch pad or use a flame diverter, which NASA uses with big rockets, well, it was like the Saturn V anyway, it chewed up the pad made out of a special concrete, which must thought might be okay, but just wasn't up to the task, and it broke up. Lots of chunks of concrete was spewing out everywhere from where the rocket took off. And now they've got a suspension by the FAA, who look after the safety aspect. That's fairly standard, but Musk has put a time frame of a couple of months to have another attempt, but no one really believes Elon Musk's time frames. They're very aspirational and optimistic. If a miracle occurred, yeah, he might be able to do that, because he has got the ships already built. Just got to make final preparations for the actual, because he develops production lines. Unlike most people who are in the space industry, he turns it into a space factory. So he has other boosters, he has other starships to go on top of it, but he has to rebuild the pad that it launches from. Zero stage, as they've quaintly called it, and it's a big fat zero. It was a bit of a mess, but it was still spectacular to watch that rocket take off and go through maximum pressure, dynamic pressure. Got through that. One thing, I knew something was wrong when the speed didn't increase. To me, that was a bit strange, and then it wouldn't. It just lost a trajectory, and there was obviously some major problem there. So, you know, I think the way you got to think about setting off a spaceship is a controlled explosion. So you take a bomb, you explode it. They're doing the same thing, but all the thrust is going out that one vector down the bottom to provide motion, forward motion. So that's asking a hell of a lot when you think about it. The heat, the pressures, all the tolerances are stretched. It's amazing that they can do it. And SpaceX are the best at doing, because they've got the best track record now. They're amazing. Oh, the house just down the corner sold after the first inspection. It's under contract now, so it's highly likely that the sale will go through. So there's so few properties on the market right now. Anyone who puts their house up can pretty well guarantee a pretty quick sale, I would think, unless they're asking absurd amounts of money for the property. The property values here are pretty well flatlined for the last few months, but that doesn't stay that way, because it looks as though the Reserve Bank of Australia may actually ease interest rates later this year, all depending on inflation, which has come down a little bit, but it's still a bit of a problem. I think it's around 7%, and that's totally unacceptable. Anybody who shops knows what it's like. The prices of everything is just insane. God, I'd hate to live in a place like Turkey where they've got inflation that's, I think it's almost 100% a year. It's just crazy stuff. I think it's around 80 to 100% inflation. So a doubling in costs in 1 year. And that's not even hyperinflation, that's just bad inflation. So you go back to the Weimar Republic in the 20s in Germany, and more recent times Zimbabwe, you know, people just taking wheelbarrows full of cash. It's so worthless. Toilet paper will be worth more. It just shows you what it's like on the Northern Beaches suburb. Sundays are particularly quiet. During the week, this is a relatively busy street by our standards, but pretty quiet by most people's standards, I would think. But yeah, other big news was Tucker Carlson's demise. It came as a bit of a shock, because he is by far the biggest draw card that Fox News have. But the rumour is that Rupert Murdoch himself gave him the flick, and apparently it might have something to do with a story he did on the Dominion voting machines, where he took the line that the machines weren't accurate, and were lodging votes for wrong party and what have you. So that went to court, of course, because you can understand that Dominion machines, you know, their credibility rests on the fact that they have a voting system that's accurate. And it looks as though Fox News Corp, in other words, a parent company, are dropping almost $1 billion Australian because of this. That's what they lost in the settlement in this court case. So I doubt whether that made Rupert too happy. He probably thought, look, this old Tucker is a bit of a loose cannon. I don't think we can afford to have that type of risk, because it could happen with any other story. He is a showman. I like a number of points he brings up. I totally disagree with him on his stance on the Ukraine, but I agree with his approach about having a go at wokeism, transsexual operations on kids, that type of thing. I think he gets some important topics, and he makes a good point there. And so we'll see him somewhere else, because he's a hot property. But it is interesting that Fox News' milk cow, he's the guy who's drawn in the audiences, has basically been just summarily turfed. So I think it's probably got a lot to do with that court case. I don't think Rupert may have a few billion, and I think the reason he's got a few billion is because he doesn't generally lose a billion in the court, in the judicial system. So I don't think that would have made him particularly happy. But that's only one theory, there's a number of them. But I think Tucker's tone was getting a little more shrill near the end. He like I say, he's got a lot of showman about him, so, and he doesn't just do a sort of a sterile comment on something. He puts a lot of emotion into it, and a bit over the top, I would think sometimes. I think I'd probably prefer the more reserved British style, although British media is terrible. And like I say, I did watch Tucker Carlson's show, but there were times I gritted my teeth as well listening to it, watching it. Anyway, it's good to have an alternative, because I couldn't possibly stomach watching CNN or CNBC. But you know, every news outlet has its bias, and he hit the mark with a lot of topics with me, but obviously he just pushed it a bit too far. It is a business after all. That's the quietest I've seen Liquorland up here. It's 1:45 in the afternoon on a Sunday, and pretty quiet time of the day. Not much road traffic, not much foot traffic. I feel better for the walk. I've got a little bit of sweat in spite of the fact it's quite cool. Bit of a breeze now too, which is refreshing. And that's the equivalent of the creche that I used to live next to. Do not miss that at all. Yeah, that was a couple of years of that tested my patience. Really never felt like I had the place to myself, because there's always, every weekday, you had the kids from very early on in the morning until probably about 5 or 6 at night, because parents came by to pick them up. It's like they were pretty young, I think. Might have been up to about 5 years of age or something. So a lot of working parents, you know, leave their kids there, pick them up after work. So yes, I say if you're looking for a house, do check out the area you're living in. I'm sure I knew that there was a creche there, but I guess until you've actually experienced it. The inspection actually was when the creche was open too, so it's interesting I didn't notice it. But anyway, got a little bit of noise with neighbours, but nothing out of the ordinary. And it's heaven here compared to Parramatta Park. I've got no real complaints. Very happy. Gee, I even copped the buses on a Sunday. I'm a bus magnet. They only come once an hour on Sundays. Oh dear. Yeah. I'm going to have to catch it again on Friday. So it'll be the first time in about 3 weeks. Thanks to my neighbours, I haven't had to actually get the bus, because they've been going up to Smithfield on several occasions, and I've just come along then. So yes, it's good, because it is a long bus journey, like in excess of an hour to get to Cairns, especially the 111, which goes through Trinity Beach. Actually, Steve was saying to me it's the only route in Cairns that's got a really bad reputation with the drivers because of juvenile delinquency. So that's very surprising, because an area like Kewarra Beach is incredibly quiet, I think. And you never see cop cars, or hardly ever. Well, unless you're outside of Trevor's place. They're either turning up there because of a complaint he made, or someone complaining against him, probably. But in general, no, you don't get much of a police presence here at all. I mean, they do come round, but it's very, very rare. And you never hear a siren, which I'd heard all the time down the main roads, down, say, Mulgrave Road in Parramatta Park, which I was pretty close to. It was not unusual to hear cop sirens blaring, probably doing some sort of a car chase. Who knows? I think they wouldn't be bored. There'd be plenty for them to do. But it's a different world here, it really is. Miles will be a different city. It's got a different vibe. It's like the beach house, you know, it's got a nice holiday type vibe to it. So you feel like you're going on holidays every Friday afternoon. It's very nice and very cheap. Apparently, according to Steve, the Trinity Beach Tavern, which is only a couple of doors down from the beach house, they have happy hours from 3 p.m. through till 5 p.m. I think he said. So they do overlap one another by 1 hour, and they charge $6 for a schooner. So they're slightly more expensive. And if you want to get picked up, you want to get their courtesy bus, it has to be a group of 5 people or more. So if the 3 of us wanted to get up there, we'd have to find someone else to tag along. I sort of understand that, although I don't know if that's the rule with other people like Yorkie's mob. They may not operate like that. So it's not far for them to come either, especially now that there's Miami Road, so they can cut across from one beach to the other. So, you know, I think they should be more concerned about how much money you spend when you turn up there. But I've never used one of the courtesy buses up here, so it would be a new experience for me. If Jeff does make it up here, well, he's bought the airline ticket, so I presume he is coming. Well, you could say the same about me, couldn't you? Bought airline tickets overseas and I didn't go. But he may want to use a courtesy bus at some stage if we check out a place like Yorkie's, because it's not easy to get to. There's no real public transport to it. So, yeah. I'm definitely finding it easier to walk, and I don't have any discomfort in my left leg at all. That's all gone. Since having that backache, I suppose that's one of the benefits of it. It's definitely cleared that up. Feels good as new again. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you think there's anything there of use to you, or entertainment or whatever. And either do that or give me a thumbs up, or if you're feeling really energetic, do both. That'd be great.